Good evening, Keeps Up the Cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here, and tonight I am here with my co-host Nick from Nick's Kix and Comix. Nick, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing awesome, fantastically
awesome, and awesomely fantastic.
Yes, sir.
And of course, our guest of honor for this evening is none other than Ignacio de Meglio. How you doing?
Hey,
tonight,
how are you guys? Perfectly, awesomely fantastic.
There we go. Now, as I like to do with all my shows, I like to give the guests a minute to introduce themselves and kind of give their 1 minute synopsis of who they are and what they do. And then we'll get going with some questions and get to learn a little bit more about you.
Fair enough. Well, my name is Ignacio Di Meglio. I'm from Mar del Plata, Buenos Aires, Argentina.
It's just the way he talks. It's just the way he talks.
I've been an independent comic book artist since I was 20. I'm 42 now. Mostly worked in the fringes on the art of the underground until something like a year and a half ago, when I worked with Darren Close and Matthew Soul and Holly Soul from Australia on a book called Killaroo Semper Fidelis. And basically that was my first step into the indie scene, the mainstream indie scene of comic publishing, with the character that is pretty well established in the Australian indie comics. And I've been working my way up in this industry, meeting people. I ended up this year editing my first anthology with a friend, a fantasy anthology. I've worked in a couple of anthologies, Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, a new anthology that is going to come out that it's called Lower Your Sights with Mad Cave, and with a number of amazing people, amazing writers, amazing people that have become friends. And one of the main things that has happened during this year is that after an interview, my first interview on Whack Comics what can I say?
Is that when the downhill spiral started, when you met Whack Comics?
Well, I cannot say, because I was introduced to Whack Comics by Bruce and Stephanie Comics, and that's how I basically knew of Lee. I contacted Lee to talk about Killaroo, and I did my first interview with them. And basically, I was introduced to this community at large because I knew of a couple of channels, but I didn't know the full extent of what this community was. And I have to say that this community changed my life for the better, before anyone asks. Because I found people that with similar interests, with different points of view, with a wide variety of opinions, of tastes. And I've been basically trying to embrace that, and being a part of this community has helped me endure this whole time, the stressful things that happen in day-to-day life in a more healthy way than I was able to do it before.
Gary, and I think this community has helped most of us out.
Yeah, he's leaving out the fact that he fell into a group equally as depraved as he is.
Yeah,
that's right. And you have a co-host on that show called "It's Two Nerd Dads," right?
I don't know.
Two depraved individual.
What is the show you speak of?
Right.
Well, it's one of those crazy things that happen while you're watching someone live. I remember Nick was saying on one of his unannounced live shows, in which he does unboxing and ASMR. He was speaking about his goals for this year, And basically, he said he wanted to do a weekly show. I mean, I don't know if you already knew what you wanted to do, hey Leo. But as soon as he said he needed a co-host, I told him on the chat, I'm game. I jumped to the opportunity because I remember that I don't know where it was that we met, Nick, but I remember that we ended up talking backstage. You, Ryan, new guy, and me for a while about life, about everything, and that's that was really good because I got to experience another side of the community, because there is this side of the community in which we are live and we are focused on what we are doing in the show, but then there's the backstage talk, and the backstage talk goes all around.
It does,
And
and
it
it
can be
sometimes lasts longer than the shows.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to just leave it at that, and I'll say you're right, Ignacio. I believe it was a Friday morning community chat on Legion. I think it was.
Could be.
Now, I do want to get to a couple questions, and please go off on as many tangents as you like. That's what this is all about. We're here to get to know you better and understand Ignacio. But I wanted, you're obviously an illustrator, and when you Google Ignacio, you're also labeled as a cartoonist.
Yeah.
Did you start out in the more cartoony style and then develop different styles as you went? And what style do you enjoy doing work in the most?
Well, the search for style, for me, in my own experience, has been a struggle, because I started with a cartoony style. My first comic was an Asterix and Obelix when I was 6 years old. My cousin had it and showed it to me, and it changed my life basically. And that's absolutely cartoony. But at some point in my life, I discovered the hyper realistic artists like Juan Jimenez in the Metabarons, or Travis Charest on Wildcats. And I wanted to lean into that hyper realistic style, and that's not me. But for a while, for years, I tried to be an hyper realistic artist, and I spent so many time trying to achieve a level of realism that basically, I don't know now, but at that point in my life, wasn't in my reach. I mean, I did some stuff, but it wasn't what I wanted to achieve. And then at some point, I was talking to a friend of mine with whom I worked with in the beginning, and he told me, you need to embrace your own style, because he has seen me work cartoony, but not show it.
Right.
And then and then at some point he told me, dude, this is your style. This is where you thrive. This is what you feel comfortable with. Why you fight it? And basically, he opened my eyes to and pushed me to accept what was my inherent style. Once I accepted that my style was cartoony, I became more comfortable with it, and I started evolving. But basically, that fight for my style basically cost me years of my career,
Right. So he
basically,
helped you
because
find your voice in
yeah,
art.
yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
and he has a cartoony style too. So coming from him was also a very encouraging thing, because he has a career doing cartoony style for Warhammer 40K, and that's something that sometimes doesn't go hand in hand. But when you see it done by him, oh, okay, this works. So basically, he told me, dude, try to do the same as I did, because this has been a wise career choice for me. Try it yourself, and it worked.
Nice. Well, congrats on that.
No,
And
thank
as you
you.
know, the community loves your art.
Yeah, the community.
And
I think the community it's very kind, but
I was just going to ask you to hold that up, Nick.
uh,
Hey, so in I want to get back to this. Do you think when somebody says your style is cartoony, do you think that it's a derogatory thing?
not for me.
Okay.
Not for me, because I know where it comes from. There's a word that, if added to the word cartoony, might sound derogatory. That is too cartoony. Because when someone says the art is too cartoony, it's because it doesn't fit their mental image of what they wanted the art to be. But when they say the art is cartoony, I mean,
well, that's just a style.
yeah, it's a style.
Okay, so
It's a big bag of style, basically.
what I want to tie that into, what I want to ask about is the point where you started to draw up until you found this style. Can you tell me about what your life was like in that period of time? 2 decades?
Yeah, well, I was going to college, an art college that I never finished because I was, and I think I still am, a rebel without a cause. You know, I've been labeled that since I was a teenager, and I think it's pretty accurate. But when I was a teenager, I took it the wrong way. So I had problems with the teachers because I didn't like the assignments. And basically I was struggling with my own style, my own career choice, because I was studying to be an illustrator, and fighting the teachers, fighting the program. It was all it nothing worked for me. My production declined. I was only working and drawing and painting for the assignments that I didn't enjoy. So basically, after that, I left college, and I basically started studying with Enrique Breccia. That's a huge artist here in Argentina. He's the son of an amazing bigger artist called Alberto Breccia, that has drawn the Eternaut and some big publications here in Argentina and even in around the world. And this dude is unapologetic with his art, and he has a great mix of styles, a great mix of mediums he works in. And basically, that's when I started to connect more with this friend of mine that I told you before. And we started working together in indie comics with the people from the comic shop in my city. That's when I started coloring. For example, I was coloring his art for publishing. But then again, it took me a couple of years more to find my own path. And basically took me 10 years to finally feel myself comfortable enough to say, okay, this is now my style. I can now do what I want or tell the stories I want to tell in my own voice, basically. It took me like 10 years.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
And I'll touch on that because when I'm watching the videos that you do with Lee, when you're working on, and whoever is the guest at that day, and you're working on those cards, you seem at ease, you seem comfortable in your own skin, and you're just working, you're having fun. So, I mean, it went from this chore that was arduous and you were fighting against it all the time to finding your own style. And now you're in a place where you just can embrace it and run free with it and enjoy it, right?
Yeah. Besides the videos we do with Lee and whoever the guest is, it's all kayfabe, it's all play pretend.
Right.
I'm not really. So it's all in such a fun and silly way that I don't feel the pressure. I mean, maybe with the first one, I was kind of nervous because I mean, the approach was more serious because I didn't know exactly what the feedback was going to be. But once we lean into the silly side of the gimmick,
Right.
then it was all fair game.
And let's
And
touch
your
on.
cards are coming up, guys. Both of your cards are already done. So
Ooh,
we'll have to figure out when we are going to do your videos.
Gary, I already told him I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna puke, and I'm gonna laugh. Probably all at the same time when I see it.
right. He might even shard a little.
Might even.
But I want to talk about that a second too. So obviously, you got onto YouTube, you got into the community. Whack Comics was a big part of that, and I don't think that people understand just how good and how great Lee and Tyler are until you start talking to them and interacting with them and you get some time with them. And not only are they big supporters of the community, and I'm not even going to joke around and pick on them right now. They're just two great guys. They give a lot back and they give people a platform. And they have no fear in anything they do. And you came on, you were a natural fit, and then you progressed into. That's your art on there. That you're always doing new sketches for them, and it's always fun. But I also noticed that Lee's never been in that little thing. Is that on purpose?
What do you mean Lee has never been in that little thing? In which little thing?
Well, and their little logo where you see Tyler, and sometimes you see you, and you see Lisa, and then you got the one guy Neil in there talking.
Well,
Is
that is all Lee. That's a logo Lee did even before he went in front of the camera. The other day I was talking to him about that. That's not me. He does that. I did the coloring on the last one because
right?
I was trying to convince Lee to use a new software that's the same I use. So when he bought it, we basically jumped on a stream, a private one, and we worked together. And I explained to him what was my coloring process and such, and we ended up doing that as a collaboration. But that guy is Lee. Is his own version of himself. And the other day I told him, dude, now that you appear on camera, you might want to try to do this more justice to yourself because you're being too harsh on yourself.
Right.
And he told me, no,
Yeah,
that's my view of myself.
For a second.
Yeah, well, he has a very harsh view of himself that I'm trying to help him change a little bit.
Yeah,
but he's comfortable with that, so.
And it seems like your YouTube presence and your comfortability being on YouTube grew with that channel as you started becoming a guest host, and then you started meeting new people. So I mean, was Whack Comics and those gents over there, they were pretty pivotal to where you are now on YouTube, or?
Definitely them and Nick, of course. Nick has given me a space to talk about things that I don't usually talk on Whack Comics, for example. Because on Whack Comics we have the comedy, a very comedy oriented stream.
Right.
But I'm not all comedy. I'm more than I feel like I'm more like a Pagliacci, you know. I try to make people laugh, but inside there's all this pain that I need to let it out.
But do you think that's exactly what it is about Ignacio too? It's like he's not just that comedic side. He's a very intelligent individual, and he'll drop little jewels like Pagliacci, knowing full well nobody else knows what the hell he's talking about.
Come on, we all saw that Seinfeld episode, man.
But yeah, the show in Ignacio than I do is more serious talk, under the veil of depraved topics, or but he fills so many different roles within this community, and that's kind of what drew me to Ignacio too. Is like he's not all there on the surface. Like there's so many layers to him.
I'm not all there.
And we like to cry at the drop of a dime. So,
that happens once you become a parent.
Oh, definitely.
It doesn't matter what you are before you're a parent. Once you're a parent, that's it. It's over.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are.
Absolutely true.
If you're telling me you're a parent and you don't tear up, I know you're lying to me.
Yeah, no, I won't lie. I won't lie about crying. I embrace my tears.
I was crying way before the kid came, but that's all right.
Of course. But now it's unavoidable. Now it's like a flow.
Yeah. Now
to your question, Gary, sorry, another tangent, of course. To your question, Gary, the guys from Wack Comics were pivotal in me. Basically, this is all new to me. I have never done an interview before. I met them, and since meeting them, there was this rush because I remember the night before the interview. We did the interview on a Wednesday, the last day of our campaign, and the day before they went live with Wack Comics, and he had the Not Your Mean crew in. So there was a massive show with a lot of people there, and I saw them all do the bits, the Wack Hack, the Daddy's Toy Chest, and every single thing, and I was laughing my ass off. And I was in the comments, in the chat, and now Lee tells me that when he saw me in the chat and after the show ended, he told Tyler, dude, the guy, the artist that we're interviewing tomorrow was in the chat tonight. Oh no. So he saw them as a problem, and that's what basically seeing them do the Wack Hacks and destroy comics basically let me know that, okay, I can vibe with these people, you know.
Right.
This is not sacred to them. There's nothing sacred because we're in the comic community and they're destroying comics, so I can vibe with this.
And you could be yourself.
Yeah.
I told you, levels of depravity.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
Now, how did you guys come up with the concepts of the cards? Because I'm going to promote you and Wack Comics a second, because what you guys are doing is actually really unique, and it's just a great collaboration.
Yeah, it's. I have been trying to do things with the guys for a while, you know. At some point, we were trying to develop a comic strip, you know, them as characters on their own comic strip, because I always try to encourage people to create something, because I'm of the mindset that we can all draw, we can all do anything we put our minds to, because it took me so much time to develop my own style that basically if I could do it, anyone can, because it's all a matter of dedication, of putting the ass hours, as I tell them. We all drew at some point in our lives. I think that's one of the first artistic expressions any kid has. The main difference between someone that doesn't draw nowadays and me is that I kept doing it. So it's obvious that I'm going to be more experienced because I kept doing it, but there's always someone more experienced than me, and there's always someone less experienced than me. And I always try to encourage people that are reluctant or afraid to try something creative. I mean, let's do this. Let's try, at least try. See if you like it, see if you find yourself in it. So I wanted to do this Wack comic strip. But it never went anywhere because I was trying to force them to write, basically. and we had a spreadsheet or a document with the ideas and such, but I was busy, they were busy. But at some point, I think that was when they got their Kilaru books, and the books came with the trading cards with it for the campaign, for the Kickstarter campaign. And basically, Tyler sent me a message because he was talking with Lee about this idea, and then when he received the cards, he sent me a message with the video of him showing me what he had received, and he told me, "This is what I want. This is what I want to do. I love what you did with these cards, and I would like it to make this a community-wide project, basically." And we had been toying with the idea. I mean, the Kickstarter ended a while ago, and they got their rewards like basically on December or January. And we've been giving the idea some thought, or maybe procrastinating. I don't know. But at some point, I got tired of waiting, and I did 3 cards. I did our cards, basically mine and theirs, and I told them, "Hey, let's fucking do this. Let's give it a go. Let's not wait anymore." Yeah, basically. I mean, because we've talked about, okay, we need to find who's going to print them, how are we going to print them, and when you start digging into that, you find there's so much possibility that sometimes it makes you stop on your tracks. Okay, there's too much here, because we could do tarot cards, we could do poker cards, mini cards, transparent cards, foil cards, holographic cards. There's a lot of possibility. But I mean, we have to start somewhere. And the first step was doing the art for our cards, to show it, to basically show the community, and basically make the call. And when we launched, we weren't expecting for people to join the Whacking Legends because of the project. That was out of our minds. We didn't even consider it as a part of the promotion. So it was a surprise, a very pleasant surprise. And then we lean into it because, I mean, it worked.
Right. And everyone's been talking about them. They're fun, dude. They're great.
Dude, I'm having so much fun.
Actually, since you mentioned playing cards, I think I kind of need those now too.
Well, that was a part of the idea. The original idea was more complex. Every card would have in the other side would have stats for the person, their info, and some comedic bullshit we were going to read. But then we went, okay, this is going to take another time for development, and we're not gonna make it. If we are trying to develop a game, a trading card game to go with this, it's going to take forever.
Right.
But I mean, it was part of the initial idea, but we need to count our blessings with what is going on, basically.
That's right. Everyone's loving them. Okay, so I want to ask you about Kickstarter, Indiegogo. So you've been a freelance artist for most of your life, and I want to get the artist's perspective on how important or problematic these platforms are for up and coming writers and artists, and in these Kickstarter, Indiegogo formats. Because when people go there, you're at least looking at paying $20-$25 for a book, but so that's usually a pretty big buy-in for people on a budget. But it is getting your name out there. And so how is that balance, and how does that work out for the creatives involved?
Well, I have to be honest, I think it's the best thing that happened to indie comics in a while, because it basically gives a platform to everyone.
Right.
And the thing I was talking about with Lee and with Kyle the other day, because Kyle is making his own comic, and he's financing it all out of pocket, which is the old school of indie publishing, you know?
Right.
And he's kind of reluctant to crowdfunding. And I have another point of view, and I explained to them, basically to Lee first, that when you are crowdfunding, when you're pledging to a crowdfunding campaign, you are not buying a book. You are becoming an executive producer of the book. You're not buying a comic in your shop. You are paying the artists, the creators, to make the book for you. You're basically betting on those people. You're putting your support, you're putting your money where your mouth is, basically, because you support indies, then you go and, okay, guys, make this book. And I have to be honest, guys, the prices on Kickstarter tend to be higher because there's no corporation behind the people that's creating these books. The Marvel books, the Image, the DC, the big three, big five, we could say, but there's a lot of publishers that are big now, have a circus basically around them, a machinery around them that allows them to produce books at a cheaper price because they're mass producing them. Basically, the Kickstarter or Indiegogo or now Zoop, and there are other crowdfunders. What allow you is to create basically, I'm saying basically a lot, they allow you to create a boutique product. Because if you see, well, I don't know if you have it, Gary, but I know Nick has the copy of Killaroo. If you see the quality of the paper Darren chose for that book, I'm amazed of what he did with the design, with the, I wasn't even expecting it to be the quality that it is. And that comes from spending a little more. I mean, the fact that it was made in Australia also added the shipping charges. But
right.
I mean, that's sometimes that's the worst part, you know, because shipping is a bitch.
Yeah, especially for markets, it's tough.
Yeah. But I love crowdfunding. I love crowdfunding because it gives everyone a voice. And it gives you a platform to establish as a base. Today we were talking about it with Nick, because I'm working with a guy named Chris Moses, and this dude is in his 20s, late 20s, I think, and he does a lot of Kickstarter, and basically he's making a living with comics. Living in, I don't know, I think he lives in New York, and he's making a living with comics on Kickstarter. And
yeah, New York's expensive.
Yeah, and New York is expensive. I recently found out he lives in New York, and I mean, I recently found out he makes a living with comics. There you go.
I mean, the colors pop on this like you wouldn't believe.
Dude, and the paper, the quality of the paper is, because it's like old school pulpy paper, but
Feel
it's
the texture on it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful paper. Beautiful paper.
Only thing more beautiful than the paper is Ignacio's artwork.
Oh man, thank you. Yeah. It was.
Killaroo has 10 fingers.
It was surreal to get the box in which those get it in my house, and finally opening it and flip through the book. It was surreal,
right?
Because I've been working for the past, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years only digital. For an industry that is not suited for work, and they don't print. They go all digital. So I have never seen my work printed like that in such a good quality. and it was
Just
so
blew your
amazing.
mind, huh? Just a really great
Yeah,
feeling, huh?
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So did you take
So
that and run around and show everybody you know?
I kind of.
Yeah.
I try not to do that because you get one of two answers basically, and there's again that word. Uh, you get the enthusiastic one that maybe doesn't share your passion for comics, but it's enthusiastic because you finally, because every time I show someone a comic, they always ask, if they don't know comics, they ask, "Oh, did you drew this?" And maybe I'm showing, I don't know, Batman, and I don't draw Batman. I appreciate the support and the faith in me, but no, I don't. But when you get to do that and you say, "Oh, hey, I did this," you get one of two responses. One is the enthusiastic one, and one is the one that, "Oh, okay," they don't give a damn because it's not on the radar that someone who does a book can feel proud, or that someone does a comic books for a living. Even my mom, I show her the book, and she flipped through it, but she doesn't care that I do comics. She only cares that I get to live doing what I like and that I'm happy. But I wrote a book with a friend here in Argentina. We got it published after a lot of time, and I gave her a copy, and she never read it. And I'm really proud of that book because it's a crazy project we did with Luis, a friend from high school, that we have been creative together since we were 13 years old. And in 2018, we published our first book that's called Che Guevara Zombie Killer. And uh, and it was a milestone in our lives. And then I gave it to my mom, and she couldn't care less.
Like, Mom, you're breaking
But
my heart here.
no, I know. I understand, man. I understand. She struggled a lot with me growing up because I was a very, not volatile, that's not the word, but I was a very fantasy driven kid. I lived a lot inside my own private world, inside my head. And I struggled with reality basically because the inside world was better. So she struggled a lot with trying to bring me to reality during my childhood and my teenage years and my late teens and my 20s and 30s and nowadays even.
Ooh, let's see. So Nick's got something up here.
Oh, there you go.
And Nick, what are you showing here? Let you get to it.
Yeah, that's the cover I did for Che Guevara Zombie Killer. That's not exactly the style I would have chosen, but the the company that published the book asked me to do a less cartoony version of the art for the cover, because the art I was doing for the cover was too cartoony. Because it was basically the Che Guevara fighting a zombie horde in homaging all Conan covers, you know?
Right.
Because this is a stupid book. Here, what you see, what Nick is showing, that picture, the previous one, the one with the three characters marching. The one is dressed like Mickey Mouse, one is dressed like Ronald McDonald, and Che Guevara is dressed as Uncle Sam. That's part of the book. That's one of the things that happen in the book. The book is absolutely stupid. It's absolute parody. It's a comedy. Nothing is sacred, and it's told as if it was the diary of Che Guevara after he doesn't die, where when he died actually. So basically, it's the story of Che Guevara. If he didn't die the day he died, and there was a zombie plague in the world, it's told in the first person as if it was his diary, like Che Guevara wrote usually. And he's an asshole. He's an idiot. He's a blunt weapon for the against the zombies, basically.
And was that an Abbey Road homage too to the Beatles album?
That
With
was
them marching?
there's a lot. There's a lot. There's one. If you go to my DeviantArt, Nick, well, there's no need, but there's an homage to a Norman Rockwell painting, but with zombies. That one, there it is. Freedom from Want. That's in the book without the colors. And there's, for example, those three characters that are marching. One is a Vietnamese soldier that is with the character in the middle that's dressed like Ronald McDonald is, hey, Tyler, that dressed like Ronald McDonald is actually Noam Chomsky, the actual person. And there's Che Guevara. And there's another character in the story that we asked for permission to use their actual name and we didn't get it. So we changed it, but it's based on Stephen Hawking's.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically, Stephen Hawking's is the one that helps Che Guevara, Noam Chomsky, and Wong, the Vietnamese soldier, to solve the problem of the zombie horde apocalypse. And he's on a wheelchair, but that wheelchair turns into a mecha.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he kills zombies with his mecha wheelchair. It's all over the top parody.
Right. You know,
But when you say Che
parody's
Guevara
tough.
zombie killer, people cringe.
Right, yeah, because parody's tough. Some people just don't understand parody. They don't get it. And that instead of taking a moment to see why it's a parody and what it's trying to say, they just get offended instead of actually looking deeper into it.
Yeah, I mean, the character we chose is offensive. Che Guevara is an offensive character. I mean, we as Argentinians know a lot about him because here we as a people idolize him because he was Argentinian. But if you go deep into his story, he was a piece of shit. Like every person that leads a revolution and kills people. He has a dark side, he has a bright side, and he has ideals, and then he has reality. But what is funny about this, that's what we lean into, is that nowadays Che Guevara would basically, and he would be rolling in his grave because he became a pop icon and one of the
Right,
most
he's on
recognizable
t-shirts.
images. Yeah, and one of the most recognizable images of in pop culture is of him, and it sells millions. And basically, he became what he hated, a tool of capitalism, and that's comedy gold.
It is.
That life gives you.
He was great in the Motorcycle Diaries.
Yeah, he was more handsome than he usually was.
He was suited for space racism in that.
Oh.
But that's all
No.
fantastic. I had no clue about that book. You know what I mean? It's like tonight, especially doing the show earlier, I had asked Ignacio about what he thought tonight would be like. And he said he was up for anything. So, but for me, it's like I can't formulate enough questions to ask this guy because there are just so many different things that I don't know about.
Well, let me tell you one thing.
Because they're good answers. They're full answers.
Kind of
Oh, I love the sound of my voice.
You don't know where to start.
So
no, well, we're having Che Guevara Zombie Killer translated and edited in English to maybe publish it at least digitally, because at some point we wanted to make it more widely available than in Argentina, you know.
Yeah, I see some reviews on the book already and on YouTube. So
nice. And I when we finally end tonight, I got a fluff question just for fun. But right now, I got another question that I want to bring back to what you were talking about earlier. So you talked about how it took you so long to find your own voice in art. What kind of advice would you give, given your experience now, to anyone new coming out? Because right now there's so many different art styles that you can look at. You know, what would you tell them to help them gain the confidence to not imitate, but to find their own voice?
Yeah, that's tough because you know what? All that imitation, I mean, imitation comes from admiration, you know? So you need to choose who to imitate, basically. You need to take your time and choose wisely who you imitate. Because I was imitating people that wasn't were too far off my own style. You will naturally develop a style because of what you consume during your childhood, I believe, I think, I guess.
Right, all your life's influences.
Yeah, yeah. I went cartoon because that's what I was consuming when I was a kid. The Disney movies, the Disney comics, the Asterix, and a lot of comic strips. And I got the other side when I was older, when I was a teenager, and I was so amazed that it in some way changed my view of myself. I should be doing this because this thing I do is not serious enough, if that makes any sense.
Right.
But I don't know, because giving the advice, it's try your best to be yourself. Try to, instead of look outside, I mean, you have to look outside to find out what you like and what would you like to do, but look inside and see what comes out of you after you uh, absorb all that information, because at some point it's going to come out anyway,
Right.
so you better let it out in your own terms.
Yeah, and then you can chase the proper influences too that complement what you do, so you can help
Definitely,
develop what you do.
definitely, because me trying to ape Travis Charest, it led me nowhere, you know. I mean, I gained a level of skill I didn't have because I was copying a master, but it didn't help me develop my style. It gave me technical skills. So
Right.
in all, everything helps. Everything adds up. I don't think any time I spent working more realistic was a waste of time. It just was a detour, a tangent on my career, basically.
Nice.
Ignacio
Yeah.
over
Go ahead,
Ignacio
Nick.
Ignacio better than Travis anyway.
No, fuck that.
Starting a war here, right? All right, so um, we're coming up, so we'll get a couple more questions out of the way, and then we'll do a nice ending here. Uh, you have obviously the Killer Roo coming up. Do you have anything else in the bag that you can mention?
Yeah,
And you
I
don't
can
mention
speak
anything you
in.
can't mention, but is there
Yeah,
anything that you can tell the audience that they can expect from Ignacio, whether it's YouTube related, professional related, or a combination of the two?
yeah. Well, I mentioned Killaroo is coming. The new Kickstarter is coming in September. I just got the first pages of the third draft of the script we worked on yesterday or today. Yesterday. There's an anthology coming from Mad Cave in which I did a four-page heart-wrenching story with Brian Hawkins about children of war. I think it's the most depressive and beautiful thing I ever did. Uh, um, what else? There's a variant cover for the second volume of By the Horns, issue 2, Dark Earth, coming. I was I asked Marcus Ignacio, the writer, and he told me probably in 2-3 weeks, because the release date for issue 2, that's the issue I did the variant for, was the 22 of this month. But printing, paper shortages and such have delayed everything basically in the comic industry. So I don't know exactly when it's coming out, but what I know is that it's going to be a Scout web store exclusive.
Oh.
I cannot wait to show that piece because I loved it. And there are 2 other projects. Well, let's talk first. Well, Whack Comics, and we are doing the Whack cards. You have seen like 18 of them so far, but we have 25 ready to go. So we are almost at the half point in the Whack list of the set. We are halfway there, and now I'm going to have that Bon Jovi song in my head for a while. You too. I'm having a ton of fun with this because I love drawing you guys. It's so much fun, so much fun. I wanted to do this, but when I started, I was kind of scared because of the likenesses. But I think I reached a new level of confidence with this project, which is amazing to see yourself, to be able to say, okay, in this moment, I reached a new level. And I think this project helped me reach a new level. So we're going full throttle with that. I have been doing cards for a while. We have to shoot the videos. Your cards are already done, and there are some others done already that are waiting to be premiered on videos or in live shows.
Did anybody's choice surprise you of who they wanted to be on a card?
Yours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was expecting you to choose another character, but from the cards we showed, Remy surprised me because I thought Remy was going to choose Thor. That was a surprise. But most of them are kind of given. You know, I mean, we all knew Burke was going to choose the Green Ranger. We all knew Nick was going to choose the Crow.
Drax was surprising.
Yeah, I thought Drax was going to choose Dracula. But then again, that gave me a great chance because I know Drax loves the banana Wolverine variant. That gave me a chance to basically homage that cover with him on the cover as Wolverine.
Nice.
That's great. And from the other projects, I cannot talk a lot about. They are going to change my life, I think. And it's absolutely stressful because at some point, basically, 2 sides of or 3, if you count Killer Roots, the sequel, like converge at the same time, and projects starting to develop and I got asked by 2 people I respect a lot to work with them on new IPs, and I have to be honest, I cried. You know, I have an easy tear, but not because of this usually. But when I received those emails, I cried a little bit because it's I mean, we artists are always looking for validation. We love to be loved. We love to be recognized.
The medium lends that. is lent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So I when I got those emails in the span of, I don't know, a couple of weeks, one from the other, I couldn't say no, but I was basically putting myself in a straitjacket. But but things work out on their own because Kileru got delayed. There's a script that's not finished yet. One of the projects changed format and shape shifted into something different. So everything worked out. And it's amazing. I suffered a lot because of this, but suddenly I didn't do anything. Nothing worked. Went wrong, and it all basically.
Serendipity steps in.
Yeah, I don't know. I
I,
have the
I,
universe on my side.
I can't tell you how happy that it makes me not to hear things. Because Ignacio is all the time. He's like, Nick, something happened, but I can't tell you about it. Can't tell you. So I'm
But
just
it's going to
happy.
require surgery. I mean, oh, awesome. So,
Just picture me, but with boobs.
Nick, before I get to my last fluff question, did you have anything else to ask Ignacio?
Again, there are just so many things as they do come up, and it does the artist side of him, but there. I guess I kind of want to know, like, if and when you leave the house, where is it? What kind of place do you gravitate towards going to? Is there a favorite place of yours in your neighborhood?
Not really. Not now. There was, but it's not there anymore. So, when I leave the house, I like to go to friends' houses a lot because I live isolated here. I have little contact with the world. So I really enjoy going to friends' houses and disconnect from work, from basically the responsibilities of deadlines, because that's one of the main things if you're aiming to a comic career, is meeting your deadlines. You can be a so-so artist like myself because I'm not the top of the list, but if you don't meet your deadlines, it doesn't matter if you're the best. You don't meet your deadlines, you cannot be a comic artist. That will kill your career. I like to go. I love to go to the LCS, and in recent years, in the last 10 years, not recent, but 10 years, there has been a couple of new LCS openings here in Mar del Plata, in my city, and that's really nice because each one has their own approach, their own quirks, their own weird people in them. Because there's a lot of fauna in those LCSs, and I love it.
Every LCS has its own environment.
Yeah, and each one is deserving of a little time and enjoyment. I love, I love to go to my brother's house because he lived in a forested, in a very foresty area. I mean, he lived in a forest at like 5-6 blocks from the sea. So I loved going there and spend time there with my family, with my nephews. But now they went to live to another part of the country, so I haven't went there in a while. But I left the house rarely, truth be told.
Yeah, the guy he's so isolated. He only reaches about 3 continents, about 20 states.
Right.
So he's isolated.
But through here.
Well, that's the great thing about this, though. You're still hanging out, but you don't have to leave home. And I don't know if
Yeah,
it's the same for you, but the older I get, the less I want to go out. I just
dude,
want
it
to.
changed my life.
I'm a
This is what
homebody.
changed my life. Being able to interact and to hang out with you guys has changed my life because I don't have to leave my house. I get to talk to comic nerds from around the world, and I'm unique because I'm the token Latino guy.
Well, there are a few of us, Ignacio, but I mean, yeah, you're the most accented one, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
And you know, we got the token Australians over there at WAC with Lee.
Yeah,
Um,
and Spoidy,
Sporty.
yeah, Whitey.
and the other Simon, and Zero.
Oh, they're awesome though. So I guess we'll get to my last question, the fluff question here, just for fun. So
Bring it on.
Ignacio, you have all these comic companies out there. What character, it doesn't matter if it's a big company, a small company, what character have you not drawn that you would like to draw professionally, at least for a book or two, if not longer?
Dude, I've been thinking about this for a while. What would I like to do for, let's say in big two, either DC or Marvel, because that's the unattainable for me at this point, because I have to thank this community for this. I have grown confident in my skills. I have learned through this community to love myself more than I did before because of the support that this community has given me. Now I'm a fan of myself more than I was before.
Which is important.
Thanks. Yeah. I cannot tell you how important it is. That's another tangent I want to go in. If you want to be an artist, a comic artist, be a fan of what you do. But be a fan of yourself. Go out there, put yourself out there, put your best foot forward. Be kind, be on time, and it's not going to matter how awesome an artist you are. If you are good telling stories with your drawings, if you are on time, and if you are kind and a good person to work with, easy to work with, you have a career, you have a path. But be a fan of yourself, because if you're not a fan of yourself, you're not going to put yourself out there. If you don't put yourself out there, no one is going to come knocking and tell you, hey, do you want to draw my comic? Because no one has heard of you. In the span of a year and a half, I was no one. I came in the scene with Kiru. I put my best foot forward, and basically what we say here in Argentina, con los botines de punta, with the soccer shoes basically forward. And I made I earned my place, but I did it from a place of respect, I like to believe, but also of, hey, this is what I do, and I like what I do, and I want to share it with you, because I would like to know if you enjoy it, and I would like to give it to you, to share it with you, because maybe you wouldn't see it in another way. And that has led me to, sorry for the tension, but that has led me to work with people that I would have never dreamed of work with.
Right.
And in situations, and with the possibility of choosing a publisher, with one of the projects, we have the possibility of choosing a publisher, which is crazy to me. I mean, of course, it comes from the side of the writer, because they are huge, but that writer chose me to work with him. And that is because I was kind, easy to work with, and I was on time. That's the main reason. So, after that preamble, sorry.
You're good. That's what this show's about. That.
What I would like to draw that I would really enjoy drawing inside the IPs of the big two, that I wouldn't feel that I'm taking the space from someone else, because if I drew Batman, I'm not the one to draw Batman. I don't feel myself as a Batman artist,
Right.
But there's an IP, there's a side of an IP that I feel it might be down my alley. That would be X Babies. The
Nice.
X Babies of the Mojoverse. I would love to do a comic of the X Babies in the Mojoverse. Maybe either the one shot, like the format they are usually published in, or maybe a mini or whatever. I would love to, because it's silly, but there's a subtext of social commentary about the state of the media in the world. So there are levels, but there's also the silliness of the baby characters doing adult things.
Right. Now, there's two characters when I see your art that come to mind for me, and they're characters at Marvel that I think your style would be really fun for. And I'm just gonna say them because I think it would be Sleepwalker and Speedball.
Well, I'll be drawing Speedball. I guess you know why.
I mean, they're two characters where the artist's personality can breathe through them.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot. I would love to draw Lobo for DC, because Lobo has that vein of crazy, zany comedy, dark comedy that would go good with a cartoony style.
Etrigan,
There are,
I think it's gonna be good.
but that would be leaning into the cartoony for effect. That would be
right.
Okay. This is cartoony, but it's dark. That's what I love about the things I'm doing now, because I'm doing things that don't usually are done in a cartoony style. And for example, this 4-page comic we did with Brian Hawkins for the Lower Your Side anthology of the Mad Cape. It's a story about a child that comes back after being kidnapped in Africa, being kidnapped by the military that are in war, at war. So basically, it's a 4-page story about how hard it is to be a kid in Africa and being abducted and used as a child soldier, and coming back to your house 5 years from when you were abducted, and find out that your parents now have another kid, and they didn't even thought you were alive.
Right.
And in 4 pages of cartoony style comic, I did the most depressing comic I have ever done, and I liked it. I loved it.
And it sounds like a compelling little tale too. I mean, and not only that, I mean, what does that look like for the kid going back home to parents you don't even know anymore?
Yeah, I mean, the parents don't even know the kid. The kid
Right.
doesn't even know their parents. He goes out with 8 years old, comes back with 13. He has a sister that he hasn't even met. So in 4 pages, you go through some emotions.
Well,
And that's what I love about
it's a good
the
challenge
working
too.
with.
You have to do some concise storytelling when you only have 4 pages.
Yeah, that was a challenge, and Brian was up to the challenge. I mean, this dude can really write a script like a motherfucker. He gives you, because I worked with him first with in an anthology that Travis Gibb does from Orange Cone Publishing, and the anthology is called Cthulhu Invades Some Public Domain World. First, it was Oz, and I worked in Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. So basically, he has the Cthulhu mythos invade another world. And Brian and I did the epilogue for this latest issue, the second in the series, that Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. And when I read first of all, when I knew he was when Travis told me he was going to pair me with Brian, I couldn't say no. I was swamped with work, but when I heard his name, I had to say yes. I haven't even read the script, but I mean, I'm a no one. I get the chance to work with the dude that wrote Black Cotton. I have to say yes. I have to embrace the chance to be associated with that name, at least in that anthology. And we did an eight-page story that turned into 9, in which Alice's sister is being manipulated by Cthulhu through a mirror to be able, no, through a mirror. They are looking in through a mirror to see Wonderland, because you achieve your passage to Wonderland through the looking glass. But Brian's script was concise, powerful, and it gave me place to play around. So, and he was game with that. I mean, there's no single page in which there are normal panels. Every panel is either has no borders, or the borders are mirror frames because of looking through the looking glass. Yeah, it was a challenge because I realized that I wasn't using panel borders in page 6, and page 7 and 8 had panel borders. So I had to do the exercise and erase them and find a way in which I was able to do those same panel layouts, page layouts, without the panel borders. It was challenging. And after that, after working with Brian, with that, I mean, we hit it off immediately after that. And then he told me, hey, we can do a new anthology with Mad Cave. Do you want to pair up with me again? Again, I had to say yes. And he gave me a choice, and he told me, we can talk about hunger, world hunger, basically, food shortages, because the anthology is about the struggles that war brings, the problems that war brings. So it was either food and water shortages or child soldiers. And being a recent dad, what's better than to do a comic where a kid gets kidnapped and used as a child soldier? I mean, it was meant to be.
Hey guys, and I posted the link for what Ignacio was talking about, the anthology series with Brian Hawkins, in the chat as well.
Thank you, Nick. Well, that was my rant.
It was awesome, dude. That is what this show is about. It's about getting to know the people that are on it. So that all the rants are incredible. It's exactly what it's supposed to be on the show, and that's what you're here for, man. You're here for self-promotion. You're here to get you, hopefully, in front of a few new eyes that haven't been introduced to you before, so they can learn about you and seek out what you do, and create some more fans for you. Hopefully that'll work out. And that's what we're about, man. We got to help lift everybody up, right?
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. You're a pillar of the community with your Grow Together initiative, and with the space you give us constantly. So I really appreciate it, man. It made me really happy when you sent me the message inviting me.
Yeah,
it made me really happy.
On YouTube, he's a good guy, but as far as a hockey fan and in New Yorker goes, he's a traitor, Ignacio.
I wouldn't care about hockey and that. So Gary's okay by me.
There you go. I was busting on Nick because of his hockey team. It's still a little tender.
Tender Nick.
But Ignacio, first before I thank you, sir, because I want to thank you, I'm gonna thank the chat. We had a great chat, super active tonight, talking the whole time. really engaged with what we're doing. I want to thank Nick for coming on and co-hosting with me. And Ignacio, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day and away from your kid, your family, to come on here and just hang out with this boring old dude for an hour and whatever Nick is. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it too, man. It's a pleasure, and for me doing this with you guys, I was talking to Nick before during our show. This is therapy for me. This brings me joy. This brings me peace of mind. This is good for me. So I really appreciate that you give me the space too. Thank you, Gary.
Oh, our pleasure, dude. This is so much fun. There's Rob. I'm finally done with work. Sorry I missed it. It's okay, Rob. You're always holding it up, buddy. We appreciate you. All right, guys, people in the chat, just want to say thank you and really appreciate everyone turning out to get to know Ignacio a little bit better. Hopefully you guys learned some things. Hopefully you got some insight from Ignacio. And until next time, guys, keep it cat.